Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining the Art of Collaboration and Co-Creation session that we are holding in the context of the Swiss Digital Days. And this is also a pre-event for the Climaton that is going to happen in Basel and the Basel Hack that have joined forces together, hosted at the Impact Hub Basel. I want to say thank you to the sponsors, especially in this case because of the pre-event for the Basel Hack, to our three um, loyal sponsors and enablers of our event, the Basler Versicherungen, the Maris Meyer Personalberatung, and Actemium. As I just started, this is about collaboration and co-creation. My name is Jutta Jährlich, and I'm welcoming you here once again. Let's dive into our topic. Maybe, in the context of the Climaton and the Basel Hack, you are asking yourself, what does this even have to do with a hackathon? But we will get there. And that's what we're going to speak about today. First of all, we're going to dive into the key factors that are relevant to growing an idea in a team successfully, collaboration and co-creation, and as we just pointed out, what is a connection to a hackathon or the topic of pitching an idea? I'm starting here with my famous iceberg illusion, and I'm using the iceberg as a visualization for what we are talking about a lot. Everybody can relate to this. This top of the iceberg is the success we are looking for. We want to do something meaningful, and we want to be appreciated for what we do. That's more or less what we define as success. Of course, it's up to you what you define as your success. But the fact is here that we have this mountain that is on the top of the waterline, and we have a huge universe and a much, much bigger space in quantity below the waterline. So leading to this top of the mountain is everything that we do below, the dedication of we have towards our work, the hard work we're doing every day, the good habits, and of course also the bad habits that we have to get over, the failure that happens along the way, the persistence we need to have to keep on, getting up every morning and getting another try on the tasks that we have at hand. It's a lot about emotions and frustration and sacrifice and disappointment. So we don't need to bury all this stuff that's below there. We actually need this stuff to be able to grow that mountain of success. Now, who is talking to you? My name is Jutta Jährlich, as I just started as well, and I'm an innovation consultant and business developer for many, many years. I'm an educator, trainer, mentor, and I'm a speaker, as I'm speaking to you today, and organizer of the Fuck Up Nights in Basel. Numbers are important, right? Whenever you talk about success, the second question will be from the next person. It's like, okay, what about the numbers? How do we grow the numbers? So I brought you some numbers about myself. And here's the explanation to those numbers. The biggest one being the amount of euros lost in a venture that I was part of, going down to my dear friend and Japanese cat that I have with me in my life. Many, many years of work and experience in coaching teams has actually led to me being able to share what I'm going to be sharing with you today. It all started 15 years ago, and now today we are like 272 teams later. We actually just started another semester with 18 new teams at the Vienna University of Technology. I've also worked with 80 plus leaders of large and medium sized companies as well as startups in, let's say, leadership exchange forums where people come together and share their biggest challenges and maybe how they have overcome some of them to be able to learn from each other. I've organized several dozens of hackathons in the framework of the Cisco Networking Academy in 11 countries with different educational partners. And I can look back to uncountable hours of thought exchange and um, discussions with people who have ideas and who want to make those ideas reality in a team. All of this has made these colors that you are seeing to come in here um, appear in the sense of it has given me the insight and the structure that I have applied in working with the teams. And here's the result. I call them my 5 stops, and they represent actual stops. These are the topics that you have to um, dive into, really understand to be able to connect them to the entire map of how you approach to actually grow an idea in a team. Where does it start? What does it need? What's my main questions? Who do I need for it? And how do I put all that together? As you imagine, this is not something linear. Um, you have to, go along and on the first shot, of course, get through it to understand the system and how it works and what's connected to what. But then you have to have these, feedback loops and go back to define stuff. If you have, turned a knob here, then maybe it needs to be um, looped back to another area. So it actually turns out to be kind of like a dance. It's a um, back and forth. It's understanding dependencies and trying to make it work so it starts to have a momentum by itself. And like I've already hinted you, it's actually something like a map with the team and the yellow area actually being the foundation of everything you do, with the idea in the middle and partnerships, and of course, embedded in that market, that uncertain market that has become even more uncertain these days, and the predictions we make about it to come together maybe in a system that allows us to make everything work smoothly together. The business model, the economic model, or the sustainability model, maybe. Let's say it like this. And all of this is embedded in an ethical viewpoint on it. That's at least what's very, very important from my point of view. We are all in the same boat here, and we have only one world. So we need to have these topics and these contexts well in our mind all the time. Yes, how do we do that now? Is that something you can do theoretically? And this is where I have to uh, disappoint you right away. This is not something we can learn in a book, from stories that people tell you, from success or even failure stories. We have to do it ourselves. And that's why I have a so-called sandbox where I work with teams on a very specific idea that they bring in, that they care for, that they actually want to make a reality in their life. You have to get your hands dirty. This is the only way. And that's also the fun part of it, because we are experimenting, we are sharing our skills and competencies with others, and we actually do stuff. And by doing stuff, we are learning. So let me dive into the first stop, the stop team, to get started here. Why do we even work in a team? One of the points that always come up, can I not do it alone? Well, we can do things alone, but the reality is that the majority of problems we face cannot be solved by one person anymore. Not just anymore. I mean, I've been kind of preaching this, I feel, for many, many years. But now it has become really something that is general knowledge. Things have become so complex and so big and interconnected that we need different minds to come together and work on a problem or a challenge to find a solution. And the strength of a team is actually each individual member. A team is a high performance team, is a, something that really changes the world, a power that changes the world because of the individual members that are part of this team. And on the other hand, the strengths of each member is again the team. We complement each other. And that's why I really like this quote from Bill Jackson, because it puts this in a nutshell. Humans are creatures that need each other. We need to complement each other, and we need to draw from that power we have, these energies, to be able to create something that actually moves the world, that has an impact. This is where it usually starts. Idea owners have something that sparks their creativity to create a solution for something that helps many, many people, the impact that we want to create. And at every stop, we are coming to the so-called questions you can't escape. What are those questions? Well, they represent the questions you can't escape, which means that whenever you are trying to find, team members, you're trying to, you talk about your idea to other people, and you want to win them, in the sense you want them to help you make your idea reality. You want to find the right people that can help you make your idea reality, and that's the questions you're going to be asked. It's about you, of course. Who are you? And who are maybe already the team members, the people on your side that are supporting your idea? And the very most important question, why are you doing this? What's your motivation? And what is also that belief that is, deeply within you, that makes you think that you can really achieve this goal that you have set yourself, that you can realize this idea. So in the STOP team, we are diving into these questions so that you have answers ready whenever you get asked those questions you can't escape. And here's the iceberg that we have to understand what it actually takes, how much of knowledge and topics you need to be aware of, and you need to have answers for within your team to be able to have that dream team, to be able to talk about these 20% that are on the surface of the water, that is visible, that is transparent, and that you can talk about. So it's about the personalities, our beliefs, habits, motivations, interests, all of this that make us as a person, as an individual. And all the emotions and experiences that we have had, the talents, of course, the competencies, and everything that is kind of like a spider in the middle is these communication skills. How are we able to voice and to talk about what actually is within us, what's going on, what we can contribute? All of these things need to be able to put into words so that other people can understand them and contribute themselves so that things can click together, to understand roles and responsibilities. Learning is, of course, always part of this. So you see, you have a huge amount of topics that you have to be aware of, and not just aware of, you have to have answers and understand your team members on those levels. That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid that something is being built, and at the end, where you actually should see it all coming together, you find out that there is something you didn't talk about. That's really something I would like to save you from. And why? Why is this so important? Why is this also the very first stop? Shouldn't maybe the idea be the first stop? No, we can really say that very confidently from numbers, from statistics, that your competencies, abilities, and you as personalities in your team, this is a more important, a higher success factor then the idea itself. This alone is something that you need to let sink in into yourself and really understand. You have a great team, you can make things happen. The idea is only on a second place in our analysis of success factors. So now we are coming to this methodology or this concept here that is really, 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 really important to understand. Teams just happen. We say we need to be a team, let's work together. They go through phases, and it starts with a phase called forming, goes into storming, comes to norming, and then only we have something called performing, which means it takes time to grow together as a team. It takes different kind of activities to become a team. You connect on the topic of the idea because you have the same motivation, because you have the same goal, the direction you want to go to, and you decide that you want to find a mutual approach on how to work together. Well, then it's going into the storming phase, and that means conflicts, arguments. On the one hand side, maybe not so many of those, and then the differences maybe come out later. It's very, very important to go through this phase together and find ways that fit for everyone. When that is successful, you go into the norming phase, meaning that you create rules and structures together that will allow you to have that we feeling, that team feeling that everybody feels so good about, where you feel you belong, you're part of a family, and you are part of something that you are growing into the direction, a unified goal. And after that, you are becoming a high performance team. You are able to work as one force. That's the goal. Looking at the motivation and the productivity that you can see during these phases, you can see you're going through a deep valley. Of course, arguments and conflicts are not something people are very fond of and like, but it is necessary to come together and to understand the rules that people want to commit to. Notice I said want to commit to become a unit that is able to perform. So maybe this is something that would come out on the other side when you have these rules of working together within your team. I would recommend anybody that starts working on an idea with a new team, even if your team is not new, go back there and visit those rules that you have that make you feel like you belong, that make everybody feel like a base, having a basis on how we treat each other, how we deal with certain situations, and how we work together. By now, maybe you have gotten that idea that we are really, dependent on each other, and that's exactly true. And there's a very important fact, and maybe you've heard of it before. People have so-called blind spots. It doesn't really have to do with our eyes, but it's something that, we as human beings, we need that feedback from other people. We need to know how other people see us because we see ourselves, right? So it's that blind spot on the right top corner in this Johari window that we would dive into some more as well. It's that area that is not known to yourself but known to others, and this is that mirror that we need to understand where our skills actually lie, where we are good at, and maybe what we are not so good at. Tests. It's all about getting to know each other and getting to know yourself as well, because by getting to know each other, you have to be able to talk about who you are, right? You have to be able to communicate um, what it is you like to do, where your talents are, where you are like a guru, and we need to find out how this works. And there's a myriad of different kinds of tests that try to pin us down to what we are. We are maybe an entrepreneurial thinker, or we are an artist, or we are this, or we are that, and it kind of feels very rigid, these tests. And I would like to, yeah, tell you to take tests out of curiosity of what they will show you about you, but not about fixing you into something that frames you, or that defines you, or that becomes you. Um, all of these tests are just, methodologies that people have developed to categorize and box people and abilities and competencies, and yeah, it's still a concept. It's not us. We are so much more than any kind of a test or any kind of a number that comes out on the other side of a test. But they can be fun, and there's lots of tests out there that are also for free. The best test, I believe, is to work within a team, to be very open with each other, to give each other feedback about what we see and how we feel when we work together, and take all this in and start to build up that puzzle of understanding that we have about ourselves. Why do we do that? We really want to find out about who we are, because when we do what we do best every day, we have this huge potential to be so much happier. And again, here the numbers say that we are at least 3 times more happy with our overall quality of life. And within an organization, you are even 6 times more engaged and um, more satisfied and inspired, maybe even within your job. So whenever some of you who are listening out there have decision power in companies, I would actually warmly recommend you to take care of the people who work for you and make them as happy as you can, because that's where their strength really come out and will be for your benefit and for the organization's benefit. The other side, the positive side here, to that positive side of our strengths are, of course, our weaknesses. And we need to look at failure in teams. And it is my strong conviction that knowing um, what is ahead of us is actually helping us to cope with that in a much better way. Let me jump back to that number. It's the divorce rate of teams, of business partnerships, actually, that is 80%. And we have a 90% failure rate for startups overall. Um, so here now, at this point, it has to become clear for you that you, as an idea owner who wants to build your idea and make it a reality, you're up against a high, very high probability of failure. So you are trying to do something really difficult and something not many people have succeeded upon. And if you keep that in your mind, you may be able to be more attentive to the opportunities and to the signs that are out there to show you if you're actually going into a good direction um, with your strategies and operations or not, or what you have to listen to adapt in this game. What could that be, that failure in teams? And I've brought you a couple of learnings from the Fuck Up Nights Basel that I organized. In the meantime, around 70 speakers that have shared their stories of when they thought that they failed. Just quickly re-give you a few keywords here. The Superman syndrome, falling in love with your idea that you don't see anything else. Overestimating the honesty of stakeholders, that's something that happens very often. Underestimating situations, or just, having a fallout with your business partner. And what can you do then? What's the lessons or the recommendations that come from those who share their stories? It's a lot about communication and listening to each other and preparing, starting small and growing slowly. We will dive into these sessions in more detail when we do an extensive dive into the stock team. A couple of reasons for you also. With the first one, the biggest one is the weak communication between team members that I just want to show you again as the top of the iceberg. But of course, there is, lots of other opportunities to fall into the trap. And if you prepare for those, if you set your rules in a way that they can help you to detect problems in very early on so that you can address them, you're of course ahead of the game, and you will have a better chance against this 90% probability of failure. Now, what are the questions that come up most often in the teams that I have worked with? How can one learn about one's own strengths and weaknesses? I think I've touched several points upon them. That's also why I integrated this in our session today. It's really important to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, and it's also important to understand that they change. This is not something that is written in stone. I mean, we are human beings, and we evolve, and every day we learn something new. We have another experience that we add to that conglomerate of experiences and traits and talents and everything we are. So it's not something that is fixed. It's different again the next day, and it's a journey you're on that will never be finished. So we might as well enjoy them, right? A question again that's always there whenever we start into a new semester or into one of our roundtables. What to do if you're going into the direction of peer-to-peer organizational structures or self-organization? What to do with those tasks or roles that nobody wants to do? And I want to give you some confidence here. This will all be solved along the way. There will be people who are chipping in because belonging to something that is, having a meaning that is bigger than themselves will always be much more valuable than, picking upon small tasks or, tasks nobody wants to do. Motivation, that's the third huge part here that deserves an investment of more time. Who is actually responsible for motivation within a team? Is there a person in charge, or can you just do that? That motivation task. If there's not even a leader, if you don't have a project lead, you're self-organized and everybody has their same commitment. Very important part. Part of that foundation that you're building when you're building your team.